All right, let's get right into it. We all hear about the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, right? They're this huge global plan for a better world. But the real question is, how does a company, just one company, even start to tackle them without getting totally lost? Well, today we're going to break down exactly that, how to go from just knowing about these goals to actually doing something, all through solid corporate governance.
And that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, you look at all 17 goals: ending poverty, climate action, zero hunger. Wow. It is so easy to feel overwhelmed and just think, what can my company possibly do that would even make a dent? It feels like an impossible mountain to climb for any single business. But here's where the thinking is starting to shift, and shift in a big way. Getting involved with the SDGs isn't just about charity or some feel-good CSR report anymore. Nope, it's becoming a central part of a smart, modern business strategy. And why is that? Well, because your customers, your employees, the market itself, they're all demanding it. This isn't about one company saving the world. It's about building a stronger, more resilient business that's built to last, and that's grounded in transparency, accountability, and real sustainability.
So here's our game plan for today. First, we'll talk about why the SDGs matter so much right now. Then, we're going to unpack the 3 pillars of governance that make it all click. After that, we'll walk through a super practical 4-step action plan, see how it plays out in a real-world case study, and finally, we'll connect all the dots from a simple plan to making a genuine impact.
Okay, let's kick things off with the big why. It's so easy to look at these goals and think they're for governments or nonprofits, but really, for businesses today, they're a huge strategic opportunity. You see, these 17 goals give us all a shared language, a global framework to work from. And they're not just abstract ideas, not at all. For a company, Goal 1, no poverty, can translate directly into powerful CSR programs right in the communities where you operate. And what about Goal 8, decent work and economic growth? That's all about your internal policies, things like how you train your employees, fair wages, creating a great place to work. The key thing to see here is that these goals are totally applicable to day-to-day business.
All right, so you're on board, you see why it's important, but how do you actually build a system that can deliver on these promises? Well, it all starts with corporate governance. Honestly, you can think of this as the operating system for your entire sustainability effort. The foundation, the very base of everything, is stakeholder participation. This just means you can't make these big decisions in a bubble. It's about actively talking to and listening to everyone your business touches. I'm talking about your employees, your suppliers, your customers, and the local community. Their input is gold for figuring out what really matters.
Now, building on top of that foundation, we get to accountability. This is where you pivot from just listening to actually doing. It's all about taking clear ownership of your goals and, your results. If you say you're going to do something, you're on the hook for it. And if you fall short, you've got to own that too and explain what you're doing to fix it.
And finally, at the very top of our pyramid, we have transparency. This is the one that really builds trust. See, it's not enough to just do good work behind the scenes. You have to be open about it. This means clear, honest reports about your progress, your methods, and even your struggles. It's how you show the world you're serious.
So just picture this pyramid. Stakeholder participation is that wide, stable base. Then accountability provides the solid structure in the middle, and transparency sits right at the top, shining a light for everyone to see. Let's be real, without this solid governance structure, any sustainability plan is basically just wishful thinking.
Okay, principles are great, but talk is cheap, right? How do you actually put them into practice? You need a framework, a process you can use again and again. So now let's get into the how-to.
Here it is, a simple but incredibly powerful 4-step loop. First, you prioritize. You can't boil the ocean, so figure out which of the 17 goals are most relevant to your business. Second, you assign ownership, because a goal without an owner is just a nice idea. Third, you define what success actually looks like with crystal clear KPIs. And finally, you evaluate how you did and use that data to get better. It's a cycle of constant improvement.
And this table here, this is where it all just clicks into place. It makes the whole framework totally real. You pick an SDG, say number 7 for clean energy. You create an initiative, a shift to renewables. You give it an owner, the operations department, and you give them a KPI they can't argue with, percentage of energy reduction. Just like that, a massive global goal becomes a concrete project with someone's name on it. So, the big question, does this framework actually work out there in the real world? Let's put it to the test.
We're going to dive into a case study of a company and see how they used this exact approach to get things done.
So this company, let's call them Company ABC, they decided to prioritize SDG 7, affordable and clean energy. And their goal was huge: switch their entire global operation over to 100% renewable energy. This was no small side project, believe me. It was a fundamental change to the core of their business.
So what they do? They followed a very clear life cycle. It all started with an audit to figure out where they stood. From there, they built a strategic plan. Then came the big part, the implementation of solar and other renewables. But, and this is so important, they didn't just set it and forget it. They actively monitored their progress on a KPI dashboard, and they committed to reporting their results with total transparency every quarter. You can see those governance pillars baked right into their process.
So here we are, the moment of truth. They had the principles, they had the plan, they did the work. But did it actually make a difference? Did it have a real impact? Oh yeah, the result? A 30% reduction in their energy consumption. That is the power of having a structured approach. They took a huge global goal, turned it into a focused project, and the outcome was a massive, measurable improvement. Good for the planet, and you can bet it was good for their bottom line too. And that brings us to the final, and honestly, the most important piece of this whole puzzle. It's about taking all these things, the principles, the plans, the actions, and making sure they actually add up to real, lasting impact.
So if you take one thing away today, let it be this. You go from just talking about sustainability to actually leading with impact the moment you put a system in place. And that system is all about making the tough calls to prioritize, giving people clear ownership, and measuring the stuff that really matters. That, right there, is the difference between awareness and action.
So that leaves us with just one final thought. We've walked through the framework, we've seen the principles, and we've got proof that it works. The only question left is the one you have to answer for your organization. What impact are you going to lead with?